Very own Stephen Carroll, hello.
Hello, Jade.
We're going to start here in France, and a key goal missed for François Hollande.
Yes, he had been promising for months that he would be able to bring down the rising trend of unemployment, but François Hollande didn't manage it. The latest figures for December showing that there were a record 3.3 million people out of work here in France. This as the French government begins to unveil details of its so-called responsibility pact with businesses aimed at creating jobs. Florence Filomeno will have reaction in the papers to what politicians have been saying, but first Jonathan Crane has been looking at the details.
This time, the French government lost its bet, unable to reverse the unemployment trend in 2013. In December, jobless claims rose by a further 10,200, putting the number of people out of work at just over 3.3 million, the largest total since records started. French President François Hollande, on a visit to Ankara, spoke before the figures were released.
Stabilisation, which is what we have achieved, is not enough. What we need is a decrease, a reversal.
One piece of good news, the number of job seekers among under 25-year-olds dropped by 2,300 in December, continuing a steady fall in this category, thanks largely to state-subsidised schemes focused on getting young people into work. But the number of jobless aged between 25 and 49 increased in December, as did the figures for those 50 and above, with a further 9,500 people in this age group now seeking work. The French Prime Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault welcomed the figures but believes more must be done.
Stabilizing unemployment and declining youth unemployment are not enough. Obviously, it must go further, faster and more strongly.
Under pressure from unions to reverse the trend, the government announced a business-friendly policy shift last month. Among the measures, companies will receive tax and social security breaks in return for taking on new staff.
All right, we're going to head to Argentina next, where it seems that it might be a bit easy for people to get their hands on foreign cash.
Yeah, that's right. The peso plunged against the dollar last week, prompting fears that inflation might rise even further than the 30% already predicted for this year. The Argentinian government has had currency controls in place since 2011 in an effort to prevent capital flight, but people were still turning to the black market for their dollars. Now, in a change, the government has announced that individuals and small businesses will be allowed to buy up to $2,000 of US currency every month, at a much more reasonable rate than is available to them on the black market. But large businesses will still be barred from buying foreign currency. Analysts say the move won't stop people using the black market.
In Argentina, we have seen the hoarding of $143 billion over the last 10 years. As a result, we think the methodology implemented now is precisely what's required by small savers, for those who want to keep some dollar holdings. And this is what we are putting into effect.
A un ingreso y a un nivel de tenencia en dólares, y eso es lo que nosotros estamos instrumentando.
Well, from the currency markets to the stock markets now, and things looking a lot more stable in Asia after the recent days' losses that we've seen. Those fears about emerging markets like Argentina weighing slightly less heavily on investors' minds. Focus today is on the Turkish Central Bank meeting and whether their emergency policy might produce measures to boost the lira. Just Shanghai in the red, as you can see there, but the other markets barely touching into the green.
All right, well, investors weren't too impressed with the results from Apple that were announced after the close of Wall Street, though, were they? Yeah,
despite the company reporting earnings of $57.6 billion for the first 3 months of their fiscal year, the fact that Apple sold fewer iPhones than expected had disappointed investors, and after hours trading, their shares are down 8% in Wall Street. This is over fears that the company's future profitability might be in doubt, and it's also put more pressure on the CEO Tim Cook to come up with new products for Apple. Now, in terms of sales, their sales in the US fell by 1%, but grew by 11% in Japan. That's helped too. Just a note too on China, sales up 29% there. This even before the iPhone started to be sold through China Mobile, the country and the world's largest mobile operators. That may provide Apple with some future cheer.
All right, just finally, Stephen, it seems that austerity affects everyone in the UK. Not even the Queen is escaping it.
No, British MPs have called on the royal household to cut costs and produce better budgets in the future. The Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee said that there was scope for savings in the annual £31 million, or around €39 million, of taxpayer funds that are given to the Queen for her official duties. Now, particularly highlighted the number of property repairs the royal estate has to carry out as a matter for concern going forward. The chairman of the committee, Margaret Hodge, pointed out that while the royals had cut costs by 16% since 2007, that was mostly because they were earning more money rather than spending less. They have suggested, though, opening up Buckingham Palace when the Queen's not there as a new revenue stream for the royal household. I wouldn't mind going in for a look, would you?
No, I think it would be quite lovely. You might have to cut back on some cups of tea or something as well.
Indeed.
All right. Thanks for that very much, Stephen Carroll. It's time to look out.